Oh, okay.
Son lives in Brooklyn. My best friend lives on Street.
In Williamsburg? Oh, Grand Street in Manhattan. Really? That's where I was a fireman. Well, it wasn't. I got there in '91, so it wasn't that great then. Now, I wish I owned property over there. Oh, it's crazy.
You'd be wealthy.
Yeah. We actually passed on a couple of us sitting at the firehouse table one day. The city was auctioning off a building, 6-story building. With the building came $1 million, 0 interest loan, but the money had to be used to rehab the building. And we're like, oh, let's make a bid. Yeah, good idea. Next shift we came back and forgot about it. That building sold for $150,000. The guy who bought it rehabbed, he ended up putting like $3 million into it all. But he gets $3,500 a month, all 31 units, each of 31 units. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, right.
It sounds like 100,000.
Yeah. My son lives in an 800 square foot home right there on Wall Street. Nice, beautiful building. Three of them share an 800 square foot apartment, and it's $3,800 a month. But it's easy to put that, which is why I'm working.
Well, I've been here a long time.
This is a beautiful area. I've never been over here.
I moved here in 1974.
Yeah.
But never once.
It's funny because my wife she's from American Magnet. And she's like, we should give New York a shot. And I'm like, I don't know. Well, Long Island's not bad. Not like New York City. Well, see, that's the thing. We wouldn't have to go to yes, we either work local or be retired. Good talking. Yes, thank you. I don't see you guys. Good luck. I'll be here until we're not here anymore. So I might see you guys. That's good. Take care.
We lined up. Good evening, everyone. It must be a good sign because a crowd is dwindling. Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Tonight is our last community meeting unless something goes awry, and certainly we'll notify people of the next community meeting. A couple things I'd like to report on. As you may know, we have repopulated the vast majority of the areas which have been evacuated. So the East Road, the West Road, up to Tomkai has been repopulated. There is an expectation, please, expectation and hope that we can repopulate Tomkai tomorrow. It is not possible to repopulate Van Arsdale tomorrow. That seems to be the most active firefighting that CAL FIRE and our local agencies are currently engaged in. But we hope to get people back to Tomkai Road tomorrow. Hope, that's the big word. Many people who are watching this turned their animals in as they were going to shelters. The animal shelter, while it's not regularly open on Mondays, it's available to all fire victims. So when you go there, if you want to get your dog or cat, if the animal control has it, animal shelter has it, you just call a number. People are working in the back, cleaning kennels and so forth. So the owners of the animals will certainly be reunited with the animals. So we are encouraging animals being reunited to their owners as soon as possible. Remember, we have over 200 horses, we have several hundred dogs and cats, and those are when our animal shelter was built, it certainly wasn't built for that number of animals. So we're hoping to get your animals reunited with you as soon as possible. The horses are at the fairgrounds, or some of them may be at the Willits rodeo grounds. Animal control is working tomorrow. We'll be actively working. One of the things that we're doing is if you are a victim of a fire and you lost your animal, as in you don't know what happened to your animal, if you call our animal control, if you call the regular number, the 467-6428, our animal control officers will set food and water out at any location in hopes that the critters will come back and be fed. The phone numbers will remain open, the 467-6428, certainly throughout this week, and then we will roll them over to dispatch. So don't throw that number away. That number is a very important number because we want that number to be used if you have a question of what's happening. As we go through this, you're certainly going to get other phone numbers from FEMA, from other organizations, but if you have a question, it's either going to be on our website or we're going to be able to answer your question at that phone number. And at the beginning of this incident, we were receiving over 2,000 phone calls a day. And I think yesterday we were down to about 100. So I think people are getting their questions answered. Tomorrow or today, whenever you are returning, masks are available. We're certainly having them available at the same sites where there were road closures. While the roads are not closed, you'll see the National Guard and some other people who are assisting, giving out masks and assisting with as much information as possible. It's very important that people realize we're not joking when we say don't bring a tractor in there and move dirt, because if you do, the state is not going to provide the funding for your specific address of the debris removal. So we're talking several thousands of dollars, and I want you to understand how important this is. It's a financial savings if you just let them do it. So once we get Tom Kai open tomorrow, the only place left that's closed is going to be Van Arsdale. That's a big deal. I want you to think of this. The fire started 7 days ago tonight at around midnight. So we're just closing the first week, and so every part of our lives that seemed like it started a month ago, it started a week ago. And I know that your lives have been turned upside down, and our communities come together in ways that I never would have even believed. It's so many donations. So we're 7 days into it, and we're into this for the long haul. This is going to be a several-year plan to repopulate, to rebuild the Redwood Valley, Tom Kai area, which I hope we're going to do. So we'll stick around afterwards if you have any questions, and I would like to invite the Chair of the Supervisors, John McCallum.
Thank you, Sheriff Allman. And just once more, I want to acknowledge and thank Sheriff Allman, all the law enforcement agencies that have responded, CAL FIRE and all of our local fire agencies and all of the fire agencies nationwide who responded to help contain this fire. They all deserve our gratitude and thanks. Thank you. As was announced yesterday, Mendocino County has been approved for federal disaster assistance, and you will soon get more details about that. A local assistance center will open on Tuesday at Mendocino College, and you will be getting more information about that. The governor's office has been in touch with Mendocino County. We're going to have a conference call tomorrow, including other counties that have been affected by this fire disaster. The Governor's Office of Emergency Services will be in Mendocino County tomorrow, and we'll be meeting with county officials and the Board of Supervisors to provide information to us. On Tuesday, the Board of Supervisors will have an agenda item that will allow the board to start discussing how we can facilitate the local recovery, working with our federal and state partners and doing everything at the local county level that we can to assist in the recovery. And I will now turn it over to CEO Carmel Angelo, who will provide more detailed information. Before I do, I want to say once again, for immediate financial assistance, North Coast Opportunities, 467-3236. Sometimes insurance or FEMA or other help that is available can take some time to actually come through. North Coast Opportunities, due to the generosity of the many people who have contributed to the fire fund, will be able to provide some financial assistance in the short term. Again, 467-3236. Carmel Angelo.
Good evening. I'm just here to say that all county services have been provided this week and will continue to be provided. All county offices are open. Regular hours, of course, are 8 to 5, but emergency services are provided after hours and on the weekends. Regarding our sheltering, as of today, we consolidated our shelter and we have one shelter open now, and that is at Mendocino College, 1000 Hensley Creek Road. There is room available in that shelter and meals are being served. The sheriff talked about this and also Supervisor McCowan. I'm going to mention it as well. Regarding those who have gone or will go into burnt areas, do not touch debris. To be eligible for state-funded debris cleanup by Cal Recycle, you cannot move or spread debris. If you expand or move the footprint of the debris, Cal Recycle may consider you ineligible for the program. If you have a question as to whether you should touch something or move the ashes, don't. We'll let you know when Cal Recycle is here. We're waiting for a definite date and time. And what you have on the table there is a health advisory that was put out earlier this week that speaks to not touching the debris, wearing protective equipment, and some other items. So if you haven't seen this yet, please pick this up on your way out. Additionally, we have a local assistance center that will be open starting Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. That will be open daily. In that local assistance center, you will see county services, community-based organizations, and also state and federal services. Again, if you haven't seen this, we have a local assistance center flyer that's sitting on that table as well. And this lists out some of the services that are being provided in the LAC. Lastly, I believe it was Supervisor McCowan or maybe the sheriff who gave out the call center number. That number is 467-6428, and that is a 24/7 phone number. And that number will be going all week. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. George Gonzalez, I'm the CAL FIRE Unit Chief for the Mendocino Unit. I want to be brief. I want to get everybody back up to ask questions after the whole process. And I invite everybody to look at the maps and look at additional containment values. What I do want to say is what Sheriff Ullman touched on a little bit earlier. This incident occurred at approximately 10:30 last Sunday when we started receiving the first 911 calls. From that point on, Mendocino County and the residents of the Potter, Red Oak Valleys sustained probably the most gruesome and catastrophic incident that's happened in modern history within Mendocino County. Everybody assembled, everybody stuck together as friends, partners, neighbors, law enforcement, fire departments, and we were victorious, and we're still working on it. We're going to put this fire out completely. It's a long-term operation to rebuild these communities. We're here for you. Please don't give up on us. We're almost at the finish line. Thank you.
Good evening, Mark Higgins, Operations Section Chief for IMT Team 4. My day job is I'm a Division Chief here in the Mendocino Unit, and I work out at Chamberlain Creek Conservation Camp. Okay, so for our fire, I'm going to really make this quick. Basically from the toe of the slope at John Day Hill in northeastern Potter Valley, all the way around the fire, clear back up to just about 3 miles west of Van Arsdale, the community. We have direct fire line all the way around the fire. We're currently just finishing up this piece in here and anticipate getting it done fairly soon.
Good evening, my name is Doug Farrell. I'm a battalion chief out of Cameron Park, Amador, El Dorado, just east of Sacramento. And I serve as the Cal Fire IMT for safety. We, like our firefighters that are out there, we're concerned about your safety when the transition comes for you to go in and sit through your residents and properties and such. We want to reduce the hazard or the exposure to carcinogens and hazards and utilities, etc. So IMT4 has put together a flyer for you. Please read it. I will be here afterwards with my team partners if you have any questions in regard to it. Like I said, young and old, we want to reduce the loss that you have had here by the transition you're going to do. And additionally, there's another form. It's 2 sides. This is a cooperation with PG&E. We put this together for prior to wildfire and after. So please go through this, and if you have any questions, we'll be here. And thank you for letting us serve you.
Good evening. Again, my name is Brian Barkley. I'm with CAL FIRE's Damage Inspection Team. First and foremost, I would like to thank you for your patience. Last night when I stood up here and I pointed to the map, I let you know that we were not north of Jenkins Road yet. And I know there were some people asking, where exactly are you? Well, our information is coming in real time. When we do run into bad cell reception and things up there, I need to wait for the teams to come back and load that data into us. Now, by the time we got in there last night to look at the computer, we pretty much had Jenkins Road locked up. I looked tonight when we came in, the teams went to the very north end of the fire, and they are working over in this area along 4x4 road. We are still getting data in, so again, after tonight's meeting, we'll be in the back. If you'd like to come back and check on your structures, hopefully we can help you. Okay.
Good evening, my name is Dave Russell. I'm an assistant chief in the Tehama-Glen unit, and I serve on Incident Management Team 4 as the incident commander. First off, I would like to say thank you to all of you in the crowd and all of you watching for your support of the firefighters that have traveled as far away as South Carolina. We wouldn't be where we're at in this incident without the support of all the other states. We have we had 16 fires that started between last Sunday evening through Monday. At one point, approximately 90,000 people were evacuated, primarily in Northern California, up to 214,000 acres have burned this week. We made a huge turn today up in what Operations Chief Mark said about the Van Arsdale area. We still have a lot of work to do in there, and we will be here until the last smoke is put out. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Lee. I'm the Public Safety Specialist for PG&E. Good news where we're at. First of all, I want to thank you guys for all being patient with all of our folks out here, making the community whole with electric and gas. So tonight, I will tell you at about 2100, we will be less than 100 electric customers left to energize. Unbelievable, huh? And then once we energize and the CAL FIRE makes a decision to repopulate Redwood Valley, we'll start on finishing up the upper portion of Redwood Valley, and we have about 600 customers left, and we'll do that walking up to everybody's house and making contact and doing all the relights of your appliances. That'll take us about a day, day and a half, so we should be done fairly quickly. Thank you.
Okay, much shorter conference tonight. I'm going to take questions. I do want to make sure that you know, and for Willits also, if you are a displaced resident from this fire, I need you to talk to, in Ukiah, I'd like for you to talk to me. In Willits, I'd like for you to talk to the undersheriff. Let us know where you are, and we will do everything tomorrow to make sure that we can get you back to your residence. With the exception of Van Arsdale, we think that we can get everybody back to their residence tomorrow. What's left of their residence, as sad as it is to say. All right, so questions? Yes, ma'am.
What can you tell us about the homes on Van Arsdale?
I can tell you the homes in Van Arsdale will be answered by, but the fire has not crossed the river, we know that.
Thanks, sir. Okay, the homes in Van Arsdale from the cutoff road, we have not had any structures destroyed in Van Arsdale. The fire is all moving away from those structures.
Yes, sir.
What is the process of getting in? Do we have to have an ID, et cetera, what do we need?
What is a process of getting in? Getting in where?
Well, in any of our locations, we have to have our ID, how do we prove that we?
As of now, no. We're patrolling for looting, we're patrolling for con men, we're patrolling for people who are trying to be scavengers. But if you, some people have lost everything. They lost their driver's license. You know, when you wake up, you don't have your wallet with you at 1:30 in the morning. So we would hope that somebody would have a piece of paper, maybe a letter with your name on it, addressed to your place, and that will, that'll suffice. I'll tell you that I encourage people who've lost their identification to go to DMV tomorrow. I'm assuming that DMV is going to prioritize getting driver's license and ID cards to people who lost everything. So please go to DMV. If anybody has an issue with DMV, I would like for you to let us know, because we'll do whatever we can to work with Highway Patrol and DMV to get people their identification as soon as possible. Yes, sir?
I'm on top of Tomcat, so do I have to wait for the electricity to get up there?
You're on top of Tomkai, and you have to wait for. Do you have to wait for the electricity?
Up before they get the power.
When is the electricity on Tomkai going to be up?
It'll actually be up tonight, but I think they're gonna repopulate with some other issues.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the power being up. I'm just wondering if you're gonna have people up there before you get up there.
The repopulation of Tomkai hopefully is going to be tomorrow, hopefully, and it sounds like the power is going to be on tonight. So that should happen before you're repopulated. I mean, it's scheduled to, unless there's something we don't know. I think that answers your question.
So I guess your question is, the lights are on, why can't you get in? We're still actually working on the power. We're anticipating 9 o'clock. That doesn't mean it's not going to be later. We have like 25 crews up there right now working on the line.
So is that 9 o'clock tonight?
We're hoping to be our lights on at 9, but it could go later. We're going to be out there all night till we get that done.
Okay. Yes.
Same thing yesterday, there'll be a special notice for 911, reverse 911 put out, so we'll know.
For the Tomkai area. So the reverse 911, let me tell you how hopeful I am. I've already made the recording and sent it to the phone company, and we're ready just to get the notice from CAL FIRE in the morning to hit the button. So there will be reverse 911. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Those of us that are off the grid, are we going to get any assistance with propane tanks and solar systems and all that?
Well, we certainly hope so. I'd ask that you contact your company, and if your company is not doing it, that's kind of what we can help you with.
Okay, that's the propane, but what about everything else?
I don't, everything else, I mean,
I may not have any power there because my system, my solar system may not be working.
right?
So that's up to me, I guess, to...
So if you're off the grid, it is up to you to work with your solar provider on that. I'm not aware of any solar provider who's been working with us. If there's something I can do to help, let me know. I'll gladly make a phone call and prove that you're a fire victim. But I think that if you're their customer, they probably could figure that one out. But let me know. Yes, sir?
Yeah, my mom
So your mom is in Cave Creek, and we think that's gonna be open up tomorrow.
Right, so I was just making sure if there was a checkpoint.
There's not gonna be a checkpoint on, to Cave Creek tomorrow. I think it's gonna be no, it's gonna be open.
Okay, I was just making.
Yep, yes, sir.
Up on Mariposa Creek, Pine Mountain, it still has a roadblock.
So that's an excellent question. So the question, and people in Willits, I'm sure, questioned on this. Mariposa Creek Road in Willits.
Yeah, we still have some areas that are right down into the burned area that we have closed off, and I realize that we have stopped ingress into areas that aren't burned. But we have to have control points to keep people out of the areas that we still deem unsafe. And speaking to you, sir, about your question, the reason we haven't allowed the Tonkai area is all based on safety concerns.
Yes, sir.
I'm a little confused about don't touch anything and you can go search for valuables.
Okay, so the question is you were confused regarding don't touch anything, you could search for valuables. So when the information was first provided to us, we said that we were told that people could not touch anything. And I questioned, I said, well, that's silly because people know where jewelry boxes were, they know where, you know, maybe you're looking for the remnants of a gun that belonged to your father, who knows? And so as the CEO said, do not change the footprint of the damage. Don't bring a tractor, don't bring a shovel and change a footprint. But if you have special items, please wear a mask.
Yeah.
And we're not saying that just because we want to sell you a mask or give you a mask. We want you to be safe. Wear gloves, wear hard steel shoes. Remember, there's nails all over the place that are sticking up. And if you know where valuables are more than anything else. Something very important, this is something that for all to learn. There was a firebox that one victim of the fire had that was stuffed full of papers, just absolutely crammed full of papers. And because they had stuffed it full of papers, there was very little oxygen in there, and the papers did not catch on fire. But if people just have a few papers in there, there's air in there, and those papers will burn up. So there's a lesson to learn here. Put as much as you can in those safe boxes there. Yes, sir. Right? Oh, I hope I didn't say anything wrong, safety officer.
Not at all. Doug Farrow again. Speaking to what the sheriff was referring to as some of the hazards. So you have to consider some of those things that we as firefighters are required to wear when we enter a fire zone. That's, so we have boots, we have long pants, shirts and long shirts, gloves, masks for when appropriate, and then eye protection. And then the other consideration is the trees have been already stressed, so they're considered a hazard as well that can just all of a sudden just drop out of nowhere, no warning at all. We've had it happen here. The other one is to consider the utilities. So you have power lines and outlets and propane tanks. So before you go in and start, we want to make sure that we discovered this over at the sulfur, is that there were some of the propane tanks were damaged to beyond control. So we actually discovered, we had the gas companies come up with a system where they painted a green circle on a propane that was tested by them and it was okay. And then we actually had them make it a mark that that was out of service. And then if it didn't have a mark at all, it hadn't been checked at all. So those are some of the considerations you want to, as you enter this transition and this recovery stage. The last thing you want to do is cause more injury or loss to yourselves during this process, and we really are concerned. So if any concerns, please contact us out here or during the transition time when you're allowed to go in. We're more than happy to help you with that and reduce that injury and exposure to your families. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So is Cal Recycle its own entity, or will it be ordered off of FEMA?
So Cal Recycle is its own entity. I'm looking for the CEO on this. And I can tell you in Lake County, Cal Recycle work with registered contractors to come in and do the work. So Cal Recycle is a standalone California entity.
And we still don't know when we'll have access to them yet.
We don't know when we'll have access, and because they're dealing with 4 counties that are dealing with this, I'm hoping that they'll do all 4 at the same time, and we're not going to be, the last one. So the CEO has spent, I'm going to say, more time on Cal Recycle the last 2 days than many other things, because we're trying to get this done. We want people to say that we're in line with everybody else. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am? If we are able to open tomorrow, we have already got the Facebook posting ready to go. We are just waiting for a word to say, yes, it's going to open, and once again, the data lines will be crammed full of information. Yes, sir?
Who can I talk to about post-burn vegetation management?
Post-burn vegetation management. I got to tell you, that's a great question. It's supposed to rain next Friday. And that sounds good. However, one of the things that Lake County learned last year is the amount of erosion that occurred after the fire. So I think post-burn vegetation management is going to be answered by a red hat.
Okay, up at Howard Forest, we have a fleet of foresters. So if you make contact with Howard Forest Station and express that concern, we will get you in touch with our specialists for vegetation management forestry.
Telephone number?
459 7414. Thanks, Brett. For resource management. 459 7414. Resource management.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question. That's a good question. That's going to come up. I mean, this week, next week, it's going to be a big question. Any, yes, sir?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to all the helping defend Van Arsdale. I run the camp up there, the Hearthstone Bible Camp. We have 90 acres. My question is, in regards to the fire break trail, how does that play out if there's been damage to water lines, to water tanks? Who do we contact and other residents?
So the question is, if you have property damage at your house or your business or whatever, FEMA is not just an agency that loans money. FEMA, and I was schooled today on this one, FEMA is an organization, a federal organization, where you as a victim of a fire like this can fill out an application and they will help you with some uninsured property damage. So I would encourage you to go to the FEMA website and start the application process. But as the FEMA person told me today, the Texas disaster from a couple weeks ago has 700,000 applicants for assistance. So he did say that we're not going to be put at the bottom of the 700,000, but the logjam is there. So please get it in as soon as possible. And he said if in a perfect situation, if you filled out everything perfectly, it might be 10 days to get a phone call. And after the phone call, if everything was done accurately, there could be money transferred to your bank account within 10 days. So, a total of 20. But he said that's if everything is perfect and you have the right person helping you. So it's not going to be tomorrow. You're not going to check. But I think that there are some people that will look at your application, look at your damage, and say, okay, this is something that we can help you with.
Okay, so for direct suppression damage that CAL FIRE on the fire, if we are responsible for the damage, we will work with you to do what we can to fix your problems, okay? If it was damaged by the fire itself, then that comes into between you and your insurance company.
Yes, ma'am.
Just want a clarification. You were saying that we were approved for disaster assistance. We are now approved for individual FEMA disaster assistance.
So as Supervisor Chairman Cowan stated, the federal government has approved this fire as a fire that the victims of the fire are eligible to apply for. if FEMA had not, we have fires, unfortunately we have fires all the time, but the FEMA federal agency has to approve a certain fire before the victim of the fire can apply.
Yeah, I know that we had been approved as a disaster, but I just wanted to be sure that we had also been approved for individual assistance.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
The tip is gonna be there for the old rotten food?
I think the old rotten food the ship has sailed on that one.
They'll be back tomorrow, though.
Yep, so,
I saw this morning that there was supposed to be one at the empty school on school way tomorrow or something, because I have stuff too that I couldn't get to.
We had the bins for food waste there all day yesterday. They were removed then at the end of the day. We're still looking at if there is a need to bring them back either tomorrow or Tuesday.
Yeah.
You think there is?
It was on the website.
And we have stuff. I was hoping people
It is.
Well, thank you for letting me know.
well, which Facebook page? Seriously, the sheriff's office? If we said it, it must be true. Okay. Any other, yes ma'am?
Well, that's like, if our house, we probably won't get into the refrigerator or that until Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So there is still gonna be a need.
I understand there's a need. This was being paid for by Cal Recycle. I know that Willett Solid Waste was working with us on it. I think that the CEO's gonna try to get it for as long as possible. It's not like a closed window unless someone says it's a closed window from the state. Follow us on Facebook. Okay.
Cal Recycle.
Yes, ma'am.
What about food waste in Potter Valley? Are there bins out there?
Rodeo.
We're gonna do both. Follow us on Facebook. That's a shot in the dark, but I think it'll work. Okay. So it's a small crowd, but we've had crowds. I know the first night in Willits was 400 people. And there's about 20 people in Willits right now. Thank you for being there. We have 50 people here. I really appreciate your patience. We're 7 days into this. It's going to be a long haul. However, this community is pretty strong. We're going to get through this. If you have questions, you call us at that phone number. We want to give you information. Thank you. If you have questions, come on up.